So welcome everybody to our panel today on mentorship, what it is and what it isn't. What I'm hoping is that we'll be able to cover some of the common thoughts about what you should be expecting from mentorship, and then also certain thoughts that people might have which aren't actually true about when you have a connection with a mentor or mentee. So the first thing I want everyone to do is to go ahead and introduce themselves with a short little description about where they are in this whole medical process. I'll start with you, Dr. Walker.
Hello. So I am currently a family medicine physician, as well as faculty member at Tufts University School of Medicine, and I work clinically at a community health center. I'm also executive director of ABFMP.
Okay, Dr. Daniels, if you want to go.
Sure. My name is Paul Daniel. I am a family medicine trained physician. I work at University of Massachusetts Medical School, where I am faculty as well. I work primarily in hospital medicine. So work in the Division of Hospital Medicine over at UMass Memorial Healthcare. And I also conduct some primary care clinics overseas in Haiti about twice a year. Headed to a trip in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, I've been practicing for 7+ years now, and time flies by, and that's why I got all this gray in here.
That's
Nice.
just some wisdom.
And just out of curiosity, is this the first time you've gone back since COVID, or have you been able to go back before that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we went back in June, this past June 2022, the first time since the pandemic began. There was still a pretty number of high cases down there, but thankfully the Biden administration lifted the whole travel restrictions, so getting back wasn't a problem. But people are pretty carefree down there in terms of mask wearing, things of that sort. So COVID's probably spreading pretty wildly down there, unfortunately.
Oh, all right, Hastings.
All right. My name is Hastings. I'm a second lieutenant in the United States Army National Guard. I'm not a doctor yet, but I'm working towards it. I'm currently in a gap year doing research at UMass Medical School, focusing on proteins for now. And I plan to apply to medical school in the next 2 years after I am done with service with the military. But that's where I'm at right now with the journey.
And so I'm the last panelist, and so I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Priscilla. I actually I graduated from medical school in 2021, and then I went temporarily, I did spend some time with intern year at University of Arkansas, but due to family reasons, family health reasons, I made the decision to transfer to another program, and so I'm currently in that process right now. So that's all of us. And so without further ado, I think the first thing I want to kind of get from you guys, and the first question, I want both mentee-mentor pairs to kind of answer this. How did you guys, and I'll start with Dr. Daniels and Hastings, how did you guys actually get connected?
Okay, so no, go ahead.
You can go ahead. I believe this was what I was in, I think my freshman or sophomore year of high school. My mom used to work with Dr. Daniels at UMass Memorial, and she knew I was interested in the medical field, but she wanted me to get my feet wet, in the field. So she invited Dr. Daniels over, and he enjoyed our jollof rice, which is the Ghanaian dish, and he loved it. So I guess that got him hooked onto it, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll take you under my wings," just because of that. But anyways, we've been close since I was in high school, and he came over to my graduation. He would ask us to meet over breakfast, dinner, just to hang around. But we've been in contact ever since. So I would say it was because he worked with my mom, and he knew I was interested in the medical field, and then she set us up together, and we've just been close ever since.
How many years is that?
Oof.
Yeah, it's been Sorry.
almost 8-9 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead.
exactly. No, I mean, Hastings pretty much said all of it. We met through his mother, and the rest was history. And yeah, definitely it was, I think it was the jollof that had me hooked. I was like, okay, like I get this every single time. Like, okay. That's it.
Yeah, I've had some jollof rice, and I've been a participant in the jollof Ghana Nigerian jollof rice wars over whose jollof rice is
Yeah.
better.
Well, I'm hoping there's no Liberians or Nigerians in this chat, because that'd be another war.
Ryan, do you want me to go? You to go? How you wanna?
You can go.
Okay, so honestly, I met Ryan because of this organization, actually. First, because we were both first serving in leadership in this organization. And then around the time that my dad's had his health situation, I reached out to her. And she
It was
basically
before that.
Was it before?
Because you were really interested in academic medicine.
Oh, yeah. But I feel like our mentorship relationship actually officially
You're right.
off when that happened. And I was like trying to figure out what to do. And you just started like guiding me and giving me, lots of advice and helping me through the whole process. And I'm like, that was like what, this year? No, last year. Oh, we're in a new year now. Last year.
It was like April,
April,
March?
May?
Yeah, April, May, yeah.
Because we were talking before, but I feel like that moment, I was like, I'm sticking close to this girl and not letting her go.
Nice.
And then I pulled you in. And I was like, oh, you can come over here. I'll put you to work. No kidding. Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you in the audience, I just want you to know we're kind of doing this like talk show style. So we're just going to kind of have a conversation. And at some point, we are going to point back to you, the audience, to get some questions to see what you want to think. So with that being said, I'm going to ask Hastings, actually, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'll ask you the first question. And it's actually more of a statement. And I want you to tell me what you think about this statement. And the statement is, your mentor knows everything.
That'd be a false statement. I don't think Dr. Daniels knows everything. He does know a lot, yes, for sure. But when he doesn't know something, he would tell me he doesn't know. He wouldn't just lie and be like, yeah. But I don't think mentors know everything, because mentors should also have mentors to ask for advice. So I don't think that's a true statement.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. I'm 100% with you on that one. And so the next one is actually for either Ryan or Dr. Daniels, and either one of you, just need one of you to respond. So in your mentor-mentee connection, what do you think about the statement that both the mentee and the mentor experience growth?
I would have to say that's a true statement, that both the mentee and the mentor experience growth. I've definitely experienced growth in my relationship with Hastings. He's taught me a lot in terms of a lot about myself, in terms of just my ability to be empathetic, to understand someone's plight, to take me back to what it was like to be in his shoes. And and I've just learned a lot about, and he's taught me to be more consistent in terms of relationships. I can be someone that can be very work and goal-oriented and driven. And, he's really taught me to grow as a person and to grow to care for somebody else, to love somebody else. So I would definitely say that, yes, it is an opportunity for both mentee and mentor to grow.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to Ryan, or?
No, I think that's right on. I feel like I learn so much from you all the time. You have so many other experiences, and I'm just like, yes. And then also helping me to grow as a mentor, in like our relationship, and you be able to call me in or out about myself. So yeah, it's definitely a very self, like, I don't know, it's just very empowering for me to witness you and your growth, and to know that you chose me as that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that's been is um I think it's being honest
Mm,
and open. Because I've been in so many other situations where I may think that I might see something that my mentor is doing something, but I don't say anything. Like I might feel some kind of way about advice, or I might disagree with something, but if I don't say anything, then she can't become a better mentor.
Mhm.
If I'm not open and honest about, whatever the situation is. And I think that what comes with that, what I appreciate about Ryan is that she's so humble.
mm.
I can give her that feedback and she can take it and be like, okay, and this, just kind of move with it. So I love that about our connection. So here's another statement, and this is for anyone. Any one of you guys can answer this. So advice, and I think we kind of actually talked about this a little bit, but advice always goes in one direction when you're in a mentor-mentee relationship.
I
Like,
mean, yeah, we did briefly talk about it, but I don't think it goes in one direction. I may be asking more for advice, being the one that's trying to one day be in his shoes, but he also asked me for advice as well, if maybe what he said is something that I needed to hear, or how he could have better done something. I don't think it's more like me receiving, but also giving as well. And sometimes some advice from my mom I sprinkle in and give him, and he knows exactly what it is because she would never stop pestering him about it. But yeah, I have no problem giving advice whenever that opportunity presents itself. But I don't think it goes one way, because as he's already mentioned, there's been multiple scenarios or situations where he's learned from me without me even knowing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think inherent. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and I agree with Hastings. I think, just kind of inherent in this whole, it's a relationship, right? And any relationship goes two ways. There's never one person that's sort of dictating conversation or dictating the learning. Without the exchange of ideas, without the exchange of knowledge, emotion, personal experience, I'm just listening to, you and Ryan talk right now, and it just kind of brings me back to, just shared experiences. And so like Hastings and I, we were in a fantasy football league. This, this past, just a couple of weeks ago, I learned a lot from him, and I don't know, it's going to sound kind of random, but I invited everyone, old friends that I grew up with, and I invited Hastings in this because, quite honestly, I was like, I'm the most experienced. None of these guys have played before. I'll be able to get a championship really easily. And then Hastings ends up winning the whole thing. So it was humbling, but I the reason I bring it up is because, I'm looking back and I'm like, man, how did he do so well? And silently, like, just he's going about his business, just doing his thing, not making a lot of noise like the other guys in the chat, but just doing his thing. I'm like, wow, this guy just really put his head down. He made all these moves. And so I just learned, that sometimes in certain situations, it's not about how boisterous you are, how loud you are, but it's really about the moves that you make behind the scenes. And so I took that as an experience, and I was like, okay. So that's why I say that's in that type of relationship, it's really an exchange. It's never one person doing one thing.
Yeah, I agree. This next question I'm going to actually take because it really does apply to Ryan and me. But the statement is, your mentor can be younger or older than you. So not going to say our ages, but I'm actually older than Ryan. And I still consider Ryan to be my mentor because she has wisdom that is I very much value, and I think is very good for me on my path that I'm currently on. And so I know sometimes it can be weird when you're the person who's older to think, and you're used to being in a position of authority, like maybe you're a parent and you're used to telling your children a certain thing, or maybe you're a teacher and you're used to having students or whatever the case may be, but your mentor does not have to be younger than you.
Sure.
I just want to dispel that right now. I don't know if anybody else have had any similar experiences.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm the youngest, so I can definitely relate. I have a couple of friends who I call them friends, but they see me as a mentor in church or even outside of church that always come up to me and ask me about anything relating to military or anything at all, and they continuously come up to me and ask for advice on what to do in certain situations. They won't necessarily just call me their mentor, but from the interactions we have, it seems like a mentor-mentee type of relationship, just coming to me constantly for advice on what to do in their lives. So I think knowing that I'm much younger than them, but they still come up to me for advice. I don't think age really determines whether someone should be a mentor or mentee. It's more about experience and what you can offer, what you bring to the table, especially if you have more experience with a person that's older than you coming to you for help. So yeah, I'd say that's definitely not true.
Yeah, I'll add to that. It's so funny because I don't think the age really came up until like, I don't know, midway into our like
Yeah, and it was
relationship.
more so as a like more of a joke. It wasn't even just a casual conversation. Like, by the way, Ryan, we ain't gonna say numbers.
We gonna keep that shit. So yeah.
Lord.
So I'm gonna start asking some questions now. And I'm sorry, Hastings, I'm gonna put you on the spot again.
It's all good.
Start with you. But when you're in your journey with Dr. Daniels, what leads you to decide, hey, I'm gonna go and ask him a question? What prompts you to initiate?
It became more second nature at some point because every time I think about anything, it doesn't even have to be medically related, but anything that has to do with the medical field or the pre-med journey, I'm like, all right, I have someone that I have a close relationship with, so I'm just going to reach out to him. It's Dr. Daniels, or it could just be something as simple as, I guess, relationships with others or whatnot, and he's more than willing to help me out or talk to me about it. But I just know he has a lot of experience. He's a man of, like he's a man of honor. He would tell me straight up how it is. He won't sugarcoat it, and that's what I need usually. So whenever I need something straightforward, I need some advice, be it just simple advice or anything within the journey of medical school or the medical journey, I just, he's the first person I think of, and I go straight to him and ask him about it. But knowing that I'm also very busy, I try to keep my interactions with him pretty frequently whenever I have the chance, because he's very busy, I'm very busy. So we try to once in a while just check in, see how we're doing. So just knowing that he's always there whenever I need him, it's all I basically, need to just say, yeah, I can talk to him whenever, even if he's busy, he'll reply when he's not. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything specific. I just always know that he's there when I need him. So I go up to him.
That's really great to hear, because I think one of the things that people probably struggle with once they get connected with a mentor is how to have a continuing conversation. How do you build? Do I have to wait for them to reach out to me? Can I just ask a question, or how do you actually continue? And with that, I actually am going to switch over to the mentors, and I have a question for you guys. It's just kind of similar to what Hastings just answered. Is first, it's a two-part question. Actually, it's a couple-part question. Do you check on your mentee, or do you wait for your mentee to reach out? And if you do check on them, how often, and what actually drives you to check on them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'd have to say at this point in our relationship, just similar to what Hastings was saying, it becomes second nature. Like, I think, and so I'll answer in a couple of different ways. I think first, it depends on our previous conversation or interaction, right? Because if it's something where, Hastings is saying, hey, I'm going to be gone for a while. And so, I may not be accessible, then I'll know that, hey, he needs space. He needs that time to do whatever he needs to do to get whatever he needs to get accomplished. And so he's not going to be in a space to receive anything or to really interact. And so it really depends on that previous conversation. And, but I also think back to, my relationship with my with my current mentors. And I appreciated someone that, despite me being busy, always checked on me pretty regularly. And so I try to, and we're all scientists, right? So I try to bring it down to like an exact science. And I'd say I check in every so often, but it really never came out to that. And so I'd say it's pretty sporadic. I reach out to Hastings, based on our last conversation, and if I haven't heard from him for a while, I think it's become second nature. Hey, look, how are you doing? How are things going? Can we get about to eat? And sometimes if I want to try a new restaurant, I'll be like, okay.
That's your foodie buddy.
You know what? I know Hastings will be available, so let's just go. No, I'm just messing. So, but no, I think it's just based on our previous conversation, knowing what his needs are and trying to gauge where he's at, what season he's at as well. Is it a busy season? Is it a season where he needs a little bit more space? And then, just kind of taking it from there. And again, but also trying to stay consistent at the same time. I don't know if that answers both parts of the question, though.
Yeah, I think you did a good job of, giving a nice round out summary of what I was asking. And I'm curious, Ryan, why do you check up on me?
I think it's for different things. I think our relationship is like twofold. So I think we have like the mentor-mentee relationship. We also have a work relationship.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Sometimes it's like deliberately asking you, like, when you want me to follow up, like, and I was like, okay, I'll try to follow up at those points in time. But then other times it's like, okay, it's been a while since we talked about this last thing, because I also try to give people space. And I'm like, we haven't talked about this in a while. Like, let me check. Like, how are you feeling? How's it going? I know this, might not be, the easiest time, but, just know that I'm thinking about you or what have you. But also, like, I think giving that space too. And also just like saying, like, it's okay if like you need, time to not converse. So I think that, it depends on the season. It depends on what aspect that I'm following up on. I will also say, I think sometimes it depends on the mentorship relationship, right? Like, I feel like what it sounds like we've had more longitudinal mentorship relationships, but there are also other mentorship relationships that are very focused on one thing. So like, for instance, if it's like very focused on specifically applying into residency or applying into med school, where it's like, I need this person that's assisting me through this particular process. And then when the process is kind of over, the relationship kind of ends. And that's okay. And that's what, that particular relationship was for. So there are some mentorship relationships that have their seasons. And there was a goal that needed to be done. I currently like purposely went into this mentorship program because I felt very uneasy about going into like academic medicine. And so we're very like, we meet every month. At the end of our session, we decide when the next day is we're gonna meet. So it's very kind of like regimented, but it's also really nice because it's like, okay, I know exactly the next time that we're gonna talk about. And it's very free flowing when we do talk. So there's no like specific agenda, but it's like whatever I need to talk about at that time that's going on in my academic life. But it's very specific about that. So I'm curious to see how you feel on the other side though. Because I describe myself as a person that tries to stay a little bit hands-on.
No, I mean, on my end, I'll say that a lot of times when you check up on me on something, it might, you may not even realize it. It might be something that I might be actually currently frustrated about, or trying to figure out, or procrastinating on. And so your reminder is like, yeah, I guess I got to be working on this. And so it's a nice, gentle reminder, because I think one of the things that you do is you keep me like you're an organized person. We're both organized people, but you're just at a different level as far as our journey is concerned. And so you know what level of attention I need to give to certain things, and what level of seriousness. And a lot of times it's so funny, you very kindly and gently tell me when I'm in a situation, like, for example, application stuff, you know more from your end, what, like, as a person who's like, you've gone through residency, now you're at attending level, what the expectations are from the side of someone who's looked at applications. And so when you're building your application, there's certain things you might put together, what you think is a slam, and oh, this is great, I put together this application and it looks great, it's just slamming, it's a slam dunk. And then Ryan will be like, oh, I got a good one, my CV. Oh my gosh, my CV. When I was working on applying to some stuff, and I had my CV, and Ryan was like, "You gonna have to take some of this out." They don't care about that. They don't care about all this stuff.
I tore that CV up.
She tore my CV up with love. With love.
With love.
But I mean, honestly, I needed to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with what you just said, especially with sometimes I'll be in a season where like I need maybe just someone to check on me, and he just randomly send me a text and say, hey, I pray this goes this way, or just checking on me to see how I'm doing. And it's like, bro, what was that? Like, how does that even happen? Does he know what I'm going through? And I just, it makes you feel that someone cares about you, especially someone you look up to. And also, like, whenever I need advice in terms, like when I was joining the military, before I joined, we had a sit down and we talked about it. And of course he was concerned, but he was very supportive. He was there when I needed him. And he checks in pretty lately. It's been frequent. I remember when we were in the midst of COVID, we couldn't meet, but we met over Zoom. So it was like that was amazing. But yeah, he does check in pretty frequently. I also do as well whenever I can. Send him a random text. And I mean, I hear from him that same day, but it will be, when he's off shift, or he always replies. So yeah, that's how you should, or people should keep the relationship between you and your mentor or mentee.
One thing I've learned is, there was a time when I've had previous mentor connections, and I was never sure if I can ask certain things. And I've gotten to the point with Ryan where I'm like, if I have a question about it, I'm asking. I don't know what it is, but if I have a question about it, then that must be, it's important enough to ask. Right. And so I just ask.
Yeah. And I think to like Hasty mentioned this before, is like, yeah, we don't know everything every time. And I think one thing that I really have appreciated is when you ask me something I don't know, it challenges me. And then it's like, oh, I need to go ask somebody else. Like, how do I help my mentee figure this out? And then I learned so much from the other person, and then connecting that person to you. And then it's like, oh, this is so great. Like, we're just, collaborating. But then I like learn a lot out of it as well. And then that helps like the next person as well down the line.
So as far as those connections, and I mean those discussions that we're all having, does everyone only focus on career? Like, what type of things does everyone talk about in there when you meet up together?
We crack jokes a lot. We just show up and we laugh a lot about anything. But I think the one topic that Dr. Daniels, never fails to bring up is the topic of women, who is in my life and who is not in my life. And I can also ask him the same question. But we talk about pretty much anything. It doesn't really, it's usually never the journey when we meet up and have like a dinner or breakfast or anything. It's usually just how's life, talk to me about what you did this summer or what's been going on, just quick updates. And if it's anything with the pre-med journey, yeah, that also comes up, but it's not frequent like that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's I don't want to sound like Hastings' dad or anything of that nature. But that actually brings me, I'll save that story for another. But no, it's for me, it's a relationship, and I think the only way really that you can really impact someone's life is if you really care about them. And so I think for me, my relationship with Hastings is a result of not doing this mentor-mentee experience the right way the first time. And I think because I tried to be a mentor to somebody and I found myself hovering a little bit too much and kind of sticking to a script. And I'm just being completely honest and transparent. And I thought back to my relationship with my mentors that I really enjoyed, and I'm like, wow, this is someone that really cared for you beyond just what it is, whatever goals that they have. It's a relationship. It's a personal relationship, and growth only occurs on both ends through transparency. And so for me, it's letting my guard down. It's seeing it's allowing Hastings to see the man behind the white coat, to see that there's humanity in this profession, that it's more than just hey, look, what, this is a means to an end, this is how to get into medical school, but it's about the journey, the life after that, life during and after. What are you going to experience? Like, what are your goals in life? Like, do you want to have 10 kids? Well, certain specialties that may not be applicable to you. So I say all that because
I don't want to have 10 kids, by the way. So.
Okay. So yeah, so all of that came up, I think, just when you realize, when you break it down to its bare bones and you realize this is another human being with dreams and aspirations, then it becomes easier to let your guard down and allow yourself to be, open, honest, and transparent with somebody else. And I think that's really what people are looking for. It wasn't easy. It definitely is not easy. Because, certain folks, we learn certain defense mechanisms over life, right? And how to keep a wall up and have this really professional persona. But that's not what people want. That's not what people really need. I mean, they need that professional persona, but they also need to understand that there's a human being behind the white coat, behind the stethoscope. So it's been really easy in my relationship with Hastings. It's just seamless. Like, we just get together, and like he said, we talk about so much more. And I'm like, oh shoot, we probably should talk about the process of applying at some point during our conversation. So
I would also say that I mean, I gotta also commend him for this, because when I became his mentee the first time, I was really young. I was probably 15, 14. And you don't really hear a doctor who's taken out a 14-year-old as his mentee just to go hang out. Like, it's unheard of, because you're here and then I'm here. I'm just trying to be comparison, but like, he's here and I'm here, and I'm like, why is he even giving me his time? Do I deserve his time? But that's not how it was in the beginning. I thought that way because I was like, he's a doctor and I'm in high school and we're going to grab lunch. And I remember we sat in his old car. It was a manual stick shift car. And we were just driving, and I got hooked onto it. I was like, hey man, you driving a stick shift. I want to learn how to drive a stick shift. And I think that's when we started letting the guard down, and I started seeing him more as someone I can just talk to about anything. And sometimes I forget he's a doctor because we just have such a blast talking, and he influenced me, or I don't think he knows this, but I ended up buying a manual car, and then
I
my
didn't know.
mom was mad about that. So thanks for that. But I
You're
bought
welcome.
one.
You're welcome.
I learned how to drive a manual, and then I was like, I couldn't wait to tell him about it, but I ended up selling the car anyways. But we just talk about anything, we interact about anything, we bounce around with different questions and topics. It's never, or it's almost never medicine or pre-med, but when the time is right, we do talk about pre-med, especially when I'm about to apply. I'll bring that up again. But in the meantime, we just, catch up on how life is.
Yeah, and I'll say two things and then we're gonna move to the audience. But I think for me and Ryan, my ability to be vulnerable, especially, with what was going on with my father, it was really helpful that I could, tell her everything that was going on, without, like, I'm not worried about, judgment, or I'm not worried about, like, with everything that I've been gone through last year. I never felt like, I just felt like I was able to just be open and honest about everything that was going on without worrying about anything. And the other thing I wanted to comment and say is the thing I really appreciate about Dr. Daniels, about you and Hastings' relationship, is that we have a serious problem as far as demographics are concerned. We're not seeing enough. I mean, we're not seeing enough Black people as physicians in general, but we're definitely not seeing enough Black men as physicians. And so, I mean, I feel like that's why your relationship you have with Hastings is like so important, because he's going to come up against a lot of stuff, and he's going to need someone in his corner who's like an advocate.
Yeah.
So with that, I kind of want to open this up to the floor to the audience to ask questions. Or one of the things that ABFMP is moving towards is trying to create a mentoring program. And so we're actually curious, what do people think would make a mentoring program actually be successful? Or what are they looking for in a mentoring program? So anyone from who's listening can answer. This would help us a lot. Or maybe something that you've seen in the past from past programs that you want to have feedback on, or anything along those lines. And panelists can answer if they want to.
I have a thought. Oh, go ahead. Yes, please.
I was gonna say, I think for me, going to about to start residency, I think what I'm looking for is more like a Hastings and Dr. Daniels relationship, where it's not just strictly about medicine, it's about just like being able to vent about what's going on. For me personally, I don't know where I'm gonna end up, so I don't know what the demographics are gonna be like in my residency program. So I just want to be able to have somebody that I can lean on who is of color, that I can kind of like just talk to and kind of vent about the things and see, like, do you think this was also problematic? Because I think I might think it is, kind of thing. I think that's where I'm kind of leaning toward.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice. Like, I do that with Ryan all the time. It is really nice to know that I can vent, and not just about, especially about the fact that, when you're Black in medicine, you have things to vent about. You are going to have things to vent about. And so it's nice, especially when your mentor is also Black and they get it. They get it. They've seen it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not even in yet, but I do study here at UMass whenever I'm off of work, because I work next door. And just from the outside in, I can see it. I can see the separation that we once talked about, actually, because Dr. Daniels went to UMass, and that came up in the conversation. And sometimes I don't know if I should say feel down, but I do see it, and I don't want to put myself in that situation, because you walk into the library sometimes and it's not what you expect. You're expecting, everybody, collaboratively studying. And I brought this up to my mom too. I was like, hey, I don't know if I could go to this school. I don't see a lot of people like me here. And it's a sad statement to make, but having someone, a mentor of your color, who gets it, it's easier to vent to them, talk to them about it, and get some advice on what to do and how to approach that kind of I guess experience. So yeah, for a mentor and mentee relationship, yeah, it would be very, very important to have someone who understands, who gets you, and who can relate to you. But yeah.
Thank you, Deasia, for sharing that. That's definitely so important.
Yeah, and I
Anyone?
think
Go ahead.
maybe along those same lines, obviously this is probably something that was thought about, but in every, if you're going to start a mentor mentee program, maybe having folks give like their own individual bios of where they went to school, what the demographics were, what their experience was, and that way someone else that is looking for a mentor can say, hey, I'm going to a similar program, or I might start to have like similar experiences, and this may be someone that I can look up to because they were there. They were where I aspire to be. So that's just something that kind of came to my mind when you asked that question.
Has anyone ever been in a situation where they were in a program that ended up not being successful? I'm just curious. We want to make sure that ours is able to stand on its own 2 feet. So I'm really curious about any.
So my school actually has like 30 different mentoring programs. It's very annoying. I was part of coordinating one of them, but I think some of the downfalls is just having people that kind of just volunteer for things, especially in med school, to put on their resume and not really kind of being actually into it. And just like the connection aspect of whether or not they get along with their mentee, which is something we can't really control, but just like having them, like, you have to be enthusiastic in it. Like, you may not personally like them, but like check in every now and then, because that's still your mentee. Is still kind of a responsibility that you signed on for with this group.
I think something that came up when you said that, Deasia, was like intentionality. It's very important to be intentional about in setting the expectations, and being like vulnerable enough to say like, maybe this is not the time for me to do it. Either side, doesn't matter. And I wanted to come back to this also because I really appreciated Dr. Daniel stating that there was a point in time where he felt like he wasn't a great mentor, or like maybe he didn't go about it the right way. Because I think it's important to realize like sometimes we're also learning as mentors. And I was just thinking like, how could we try to like mitigate that? And I feel like, our relationship, Priscilla, was very, like it just happened. But I'm thinking like when you're starting a program, maybe it just needs to be like blatantly stated. Like if there's something that, comes up for me, is it okay to call you out about it? So then it's like, okay, we already agreed on this. So when it happens, it's not a surprise. But there have been times where Priscilla is like, you didn't say that right. She was like, oh, that didn't make me feel good. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, okay, I have to, yeah, you're right. I didn't say that the correct way. And sometimes I could be very like straightforward with certain things. And Priscilla knows this because I'm like concise to the point. But
if you give Ryan something, like anything writing, if you give anything written for Ryan to check, she is good. But oh my gosh, it's just a lot. It's a lot to absorb.
So I be appreciating it.
Looks like it's bleeding.
Because I'm like, oh, I should be, I should be thoughtful about how I say things sometimes. So yeah, but I think it's important that that the mentee feels like they can tell that to the mentor, to be able to grow from that. So that was an additional thought about setting those expectations, being very intentional. And I will say one other point, and then I'll stop talking, but I was part of a program that was like a research program. And I really appreciate it because um the space that was, and I use it, and I try to credit Dr. Ayanna Jordan in regards to creating this liberated space and just saying and creating a space in which you can be your authentic self, and encouraging that through action and intentionality. I will say that was the only, and it was led by a Black woman. It was dedicated to people of color that are interested in addiction medicine research. But there was a energy and power about it that it was something I had never experienced. And it was because it really was this liberated space. And it was all through Zoom. So it's like possible to do it, but it was really just being like who you are, but being feeling safe in that space to do it. So I try to use that and take that with me. Liberated space, like, yes, that's
I like that.
So.
I think Dr. Walker was just saying something that was really important too, is in terms of creating like a successful program is maybe using, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So maybe a video is worth 1,000,000. So maybe having a video of, Priscilla and Ryan's interaction, or myself and Hastings, and people can see like what successful mentor-mentee relationships can look like. Because I think oftentimes it's difficult when it's on paper. See like a job description and you see the expectations, but until you're actually in it, you're like, oh shoot, this is more than I bargained for. People see like the personal interaction between two people, then they'll be like, okay, this is it's beyond that. It's beyond just kind of dictating someone's life course, but there's actually a personal interaction that exists between the two. So that's a thought that just came up as you were saying that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, all of this I think is like really helpful. Everything that you guys have said, I definitely, I think we'll be able to take that. We'll take that and we'll be able to think, really make sure that we want it to succeed. Because I know there's been a lot of situations where I've seen programs that have started, but then just for whatever reason, just wasn't able to persist. But last thing, I want Dr. Ryan, I know that she has some plans for ABFMP's mentorship program, and I would love for her to talk about that right now.
Yes. So, spring 2023 is the target date. But we have been hearing our members. We know when you sign up, we ask if you want mentorship, and a lot of people say yes. And we're bringing it back and trying to do it more in an intentional manner. So previously we had been doing mentorship purposely for application support, and we'll continue to do that, but trying to have more depth in our mentorship as well. And so what we're starting is mentoring families. And what that would consist of, sometimes people will talk about like mentoring up or mentoring down. And that's basically having a family that's not just so centered necessarily on attending, but also, a PGY3, a PGY2, a PGY1, a medical graduate, a medical student that's applying to family medicine. And then as we expand in the future, it will eventually get to Hastings, but we're not there. We're not there yet. But we can learn so much from each other, and you can be a mentor and a mentee at the same time. So that's what we're looking forward to. And right now we're in the midst of recruiting our faculty. And so if you know any particular people that are interested, you can have them contact us at contact@abfmp, or just sign up as one of the supporters, because we've been kind of sending out our messaging to the supporters to sign up that way, and then just keep out on when that launches. So really
Yeah,
excited
we're-
about that.
so recruiting just faculty right now, but later we'll start having students and residents being able to sign up to be in the family. So we have 5 minutes left. So with these last 5 minutes, I just want everybody on the panel to give me like a very quick, brief takeaway on mentoring. If there was one thing you could say about mentoring, what would that be? Who wants to go first?
I'd go. I'd say consistency. That'd be the huge thing for me. Just being consistent and reaching out to check on them, to see if they're doing okay, if they need anything, being there for them. They may not, want to ask for help in the moment, maybe because they think you're busy or not. But if you reach out, letting them know that you're still there, thinking about them, praying for them, or just there for them to even come to your event, that shows that you care. So I think being consistent with keeping the relationship alive is huge.
For me, I'll say it's vulnerability and honesty. And I'll connect kind of back to what Hastings is saying, is that if you check in on someone, don't be like one of those people that says, you walk about in the street and they say, hey, what's up? How's it going? But they don't actually want you to tell them how things are going. They just want you to say it's fine, so that they can check off that they asked. So, for mentors out there, actually ask because you want to know. And then mentees, be willing to be vulnerable and honest. Dr. Downs, you were going to say something.
Yeah. And I was taking it all in. I was like, that's good. I guess for me, I would say flexibility. Just being prepared to not just to impart knowledge, but also to receive it as well, and to understand that it's a two-way street. I think the other thing, and Dr. Walker was mentioning it as well, is understand that every relationship, mentee-mentor relationship, is going to be different. It's not a monolith, right? And so, my relationship with Hastings is where it's at right now. But I have relationships with others, and where they may need more time, may need more checking in on, and so just being flexible, and just allowing yourself to really meet someone's needs where they're at, and also just learning about yourself, which I think I already said. Yeah, but it's learning about yourself, and I've grown, and Dr. Walker said it as well. Like Hastings has definitely challenged me a lot. And oh, that's more than one thing. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stop. It's more than one.
You were in it though. You were in it. You were in the room, man.
That's good. All right, you asked for one thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys have such great things. I'm like really thinking over here. Something that's coming to mind to me right now is like being intentional. And I mean that in the sense of like being intentional about your ask as well. Like, what is it that you need out of this relationship? And I want to leave this, impart this because I felt like it was really like good advice that I had from a former mentor of mine. And they were like, you need to have an advisory board. And I was like, whoa, what? And it's like, you have people that are there to guide you in different aspects of your life, right? Maybe you have a mentor that's for your spiritual mentor, like you have someone that's your relationship mentor, you have someone that's your professional mentor, and it's about creating this network of mentorship for different purposes, obviously. And it was just something I hadn't really like thought about. And when you're intentional about what your asks are, you can be, your mentor knows what they're there to provide for you, and you know what you need to ask them or not ask them, and go to the next mentor for whatever else you need, because there is no one mentor that can be everything for you, in all honesty. And then the other aspects of like intentionality on the part of the mentor is like, what can I give and not give to you as well. So yeah, because there are times where I'm like, Priscilla, this ain't a break. A break. So yeah, but she respects that. And I appreciate it.
Love
So
it.
in there.
Well, it's 9 o'clock. We actually did really good on time. And so I just want to take the moment to thank everyone for coming, thank our panelists for joining us today. I learned a lot. I think this was very helpful, I think, for a lot of people. And this recording will be shared. It'll be on our YouTube channel as well as on our website. So if anybody else who wants to hear about it, tell everybody about it so that they can learn more as well.
One last
Go
talk,
ahead.
point. We're going to be having another session on sponsorship.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If you don't know about sponsorship, we've got to tell you. I think it's really important. It has to go in conjunction with mentorship. And what I will say is like mentorship is very much a relational, advice type relationship and helping to kind of like coach and navigate. But sponsorship is someone that's going to speak your name in rooms that will get you to the next level, or specifically putting their money up to support you to get training or do an opportunity that, will help you get to the next level. And so we'll talk about that, because I think we don't really talk about sponsorship as much as we talk about mentorship. And I know that's because we are, yearning for belonging. But to really get to next level, we really have to start talking about sponsorship. So look out for that.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. And I say good night.
Good night.
Good night,
All right.
Thank you all.